What's going on, everybody? This is Rose from Rose TV. I've seen a fair share of downright hilarious shows, but nothing compares to Dropkick on My Devil, a comedy slice-of-life anime that's running strong on 3 seasons now, with crowdfunding for a 4th. In this video, I'll talk about my likes and dislikes about the show, and whether you should give it a watch too. If you like these anime reviews, I'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed, and even comment with your feedback or what you'd like to see next. Without further ado, on to the video. If you don't know already, Dropkick on My Devil, also known as Jashin-chan Dropkick, is an ongoing anime series adapted by a studio called Nomad, and I ain't gonna lie, I've never heard of this studio before, but they have a pretty solid show under their belt, so that's not like a roast or anything. So far there's 3 seasons left with crowdfunding for a potential 4th, like I mentioned earlier. Season 1 released in 2018, Season 2 in 2020, and Season 3 came this year, 2022. The story revolves around Yorine Hanazono, fucking goddamn it, I fucked up that name, who summons Jashin-chan, who happens to be a devil. I can't fucking read. The only problem is, Yorine doesn't have a spell to send her back, and the only way that Jashin-chan can return to hell is by killing Yorine, which is the main goal through the series, although her attempts fail constantly. It's hilarious. With the overview out of the way, I'm going to score the series in several categories: characters, animation, story, music, enjoyment, and rewatch value. Let's go ahead and get right into this. The 2 main characters are Jashin and Yorine. I like both of them, but my favorite character has to be Yorine. She's kind to everyone, pretty much except for Jashin, who's a massive jackass at times. She's horrible with money and constantly tries to catch Yorine off guard in order to kill her. Thing is, every single time, Jashin fails and Yorine ends up torturing her as punishment. She's pretty sweet and down to earth, so she's good in my book. As for Jashin, I hated her at first. She's self-centered, egotistical, and sometimes downright annoying. As a person, she can be horrible at times, but what else do you expect from a devil? Despite all that, there's times where Jashin acts very nice or does some good things. Seeing her only act evil can be tiring, so a change of pace if done well is great, and that's what happens. I'll get into more detail about those nicer moments when we discuss the story, but for now, let's move on to the rest of the characters. Medusa is a close friend of Jashin's, despite how horrible of a friend Jashin-chan can be sometimes. I mean, Medusa's alias is literally ATM, since Jashin frequently depends on her for money, which she ends up wasting on bets and other stuff anyways. Even then, there's still some nicer moments between them, keeping the friendship going strong. Medusa's pretty sweet, also way too patient somehow, given she still drags this damn snake around. Pekala, or Pekara, however you want to say it, there's like 2 different names, is an angel who got stranded on Earth and lost her halo, rendering her completely powerless. Her situation isn't great, as throughout the series, she has little to no money and lives in a cardboard box. Yorine tries to help at times though. Pekala is stubborn to accept her kindness, believing that she's a witch. She's the kind of character you feel pretty bad for, and she also gets stomped on by the others at times. Minos is another friend of Jashin. She's quite energetic and has a 2 big personalities. That's all there really is to say about her. It doesn't really get any deeper than that, but she's a pretty cool character. Poporon is another angel, a former subordinate of Pekala's. She wants to kill Pekala in order to take her spot as a fully fledged angel. However, Jashin eats her halo, so just like Pekala, she's stuck on Earth. She's popular among the town, taking on a secondary identity as an idol named Noelle. Those performances are quite fun to watch, I'll say. She's definitely my top 3 for favorite characters. I'll talk about that later. A couple of other characters from heaven include Pino and Liere, the latter being the highest of power in heaven. There's numerous other characters, but they're not really worth talking about because there is a lot in the cast. You can watch the show for yourself, of course, to get familiar with them. Also, Hatsune Miku is in every episode of Season 3, so if you like Vocaloids or just Miku, there's something to drool over in this series. If I had to name my top 5, I'd probably put Medusa at number 5, Liere at number 4, Jashin-chan at number 3, Poporon at number 2, and Yorine at number 1. The rest of the characters are alright, none of them are really hateable, but some of them just aren't too deep. Now, when I rank my anime, the character ratings are on a scale of 15, and scores are based off how well characters are written, how likable they are, or unlikable if it's for good reason, as well as how memorable they are when the show is in the past. The characters in both Season 1 and Season 2 are a perfect 15 out of 15. The Season 1 score can realistically be scaled down just a bit, considering how I didn't like Jashin-chan at first, though I warmed up to her eventually. Season 3 is only a 14 though, which is still a great score, but if I'm gonna be honest, something just felt slightly off when I watched the 3rd season, and I'll mention this several times throughout the video. It didn't feel as amazing as Season 2 did, but it was still very great. Overall, the characters have stayed pretty great throughout all 3 seasons, and I'm excited to see what happens in Season 4, and I'm also excited to see if any new characters show up then as well. Now we're talking about animation. This is a shorter segment, but my animation scores, which are on a scale of 8, are based off how colorful, or lack of thereof if it's a setting, a show is, how the design is, and the overall quality of animations, including the opening and ending sequences. Usually, unless studios change things up for better or worse between seasons, my scores stay the same here. And that's the case here, as every single season is a perfect 8 out of 8. All the opening and ending animations are amazing, especially Season 2's, and the animation throughout the whole show is pretty awesome too. My story scores are on a scale of 15 because it's pretty important. It's a very major factor in all my anime scores. This score judges how well written an anime story is, or if there is no real story, as is typical in slice-of-life animes, it judges how well the comedy is written and stuff like that. Season 1 was pretty good, but my favorite episode was the 11th, as Yorine falls ill, which gives Jashin-chan a chance to kick her when she's down and finally return to hell, but she decides to get help from the others to treat Yorine instead. Yes, I'm a sucker for wholesome moments if you haven't already noticed by now. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy their fights and bickering just as much, but some wholesomeness here and there doesn't hurt. Season 2, officially called Dropkick on My Devil Dash, premiered 2 years later in the first season. Every episode of this season was very highly enjoyable. Episode 8 was one of the nice ones as Jashin thinks back to her school days, while Minos and Medusa are away for a festival in hell. Back in school, Minos tried to avoid being around the others, but Jashin-chan encouraged her to come play with her and Medusa. The snowball fight in episode 10 was a fun one to see as well. Season 3, titled Dropkick on My Devil X, was another pretty solid season. The mid-season arc where Jashin runs away from debt collectors was okay, and had its fun moments, but felt unusual from what I was used to for the last 2 seasons. But I'm not saying that's bad or anything, it was just a little bit different. Episode 9 was probably the most fun, when some kind of high effect, not from drugs of course, spreads around the town. It was a weird episode, but then again, this whole series is the embodiment of chaos, as the ending has Jashin-chan literally trying to dropkick the fucking sun! What?! Anyways, the story for Season 1 was a 14 out of 15. Not perfect, but still really good. Season 2 was a perfect 15 out of 15. I absolutely loved the season, and like I said earlier, every episode was very enjoyable. Season 3 is the lowest, telling it just a 12 out of 15. Again, that's not even remotely bad, it's still in very great territory, but as I said before, something just felt off about Season 3. I didn't have the same love for it as I held for Season 2 and even Season 1. I don't know if the debt collector arc had anything to do with it, but something was missing. This next segment ranks the soundtrack, including both the background OST and OP and ED themes. I love the soundtrack for this show. I'm just gonna say that. It really fits the show in all honesty. I tend to forget EDs unless they're really special, so I'll just mostly talk about the OPs. Season 1 is representative of how chaotic this show is, and I love it for that reason. And it goes really hard too. But it adds nothing on Season 2's OP. The OP for Dropkick on My Devil Dash might just be the best anime OP I've ever heard. Feel free to send me anything you think tops it, but the OP only further solidified my love for the season and the show in general. The Season 3 OP is pretty good, and has some similarities to the Season 2 OP, but it just cannot compare to Season 2, and I don't know if anything can ever top Season 2's OP. That's just purely beautiful, and I'm not going to play it in the background, because ever since what happened with the Toradora video, I'm scared to take that risk. I rank Season 1 a 4 out of 5, which is a very good score. Season 2 is a perfect 5 out of 5. Again, I cannot stress enough my love for that OP. And Season 2 is a 4.5 out of 5.
I accidentally said Season 2 again instead of Season 3. I'm like the stupidest person in the world and I don't deserve to live. I'm gonna die.
I kinda like the ED for that one. Next we get to enjoyment. This obviously ranks how much I enjoyed a show. Season 1 and 2 are both perfect 12 out of 12s. The best part of this series is how meta it is. The fourth wall breaks are so common there may not even be a fourth wall to break anymore. And I can't even begin to tell you my favorite fourth wall break. You'll just have to watch for yourself in order to understand just how great this show is in the parody scene. It doesn't try desperately to be serious, and it's very enjoyable in that sense. Though my enjoyment declined just slightly in Season 3. Again, something felt missing or lackluster, but I can't really put my finger on it. But regardless, I still loved watching, so it's an 11.5 out of 12. Oh, and to rewatch value, this is a more personal score than some of the others that judges how likely I would be to rewatch the show in the future. If a show drags on too long, even if it's great, this score will probably be lower. It's less important to the final score though, so it's only a scale of 5. All 3 seasons are a straight up 5 out of 5, solely because of how hilarious this series is. This comedy is a nice break from more story-heavy shows, and so I'll always have a desire to one day come back to the series and watch it again, or be on the lookout for future seasons. You're probably wondering why everything isn't a scale of 10, and it's because if everything is on a scale of 10, the less important factors of a show would positively or negatively affect my final score too much. So by putting more score on one column and less on another, it prioritizes scoring on what's the most important about a series. Season 1's final score ranks a 9.6 out of 10. It did a great job of making me want to continue watching through the series, and there were many aspects that I loved. Season 2 was the peak of the series, hence its perfect 10 out of 10 score. There's little to dislike about the season, and I've already told you why I love it so much. Season 3 is a 9.1 out of 10. Once again, something is missing. I don't know what it is, but it's just not there. Even though Season 3 had me less satisfied than the rest, it alongside the whole series are amazing, and I'm glad I got introduced to the series. Thank you all for watching this video. I would definitely recommend this show if you want something funny, with tons of satire and comedy. Comment below what you'd like to see me cover next, and I'll see you all next time. This is Rap Bros from Rose TV, signing off. Peace out, everybody.